Welcome to another video from earnped.com. I am StevieB. Happy to have you all with us today. As you guys can see from the title of the video, breaking news, Summer Mayhem 2022 has been canceled. Are you kidding me? No, not Summer Mayhem 2021. Not last year. This year. The one that's supposed to happen in like 2.5, 3 weeks has been canceled. And not only that, not canceled through some kind of a great grand announcement. Canceled through an obscure post on PCF. You heard me right. I'm literally playing, and I get a message from a friend that says they canceled Summer Mayhem. I said, no, bro, that was last year. Sends me the link to PCF. Somebody asked a random question about Summer Mayhem, and the Mindark official gets on there and says, we're canceling it for Summer 2022. No explanation as to why, no reasoning, no other information, just, hey, let's tell somebody in this, minuscule post on PCF that one of the biggest in-game events of the year that happens 4 times a year, we're canceling it. No explanation, no reason. Oh, and we're doing this like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the event's supposed to start. Today is May 22nd. I was planning on the event starting on June 7th and running until about June 21st. I have literally put in for 2.5 weeks of PPL at my job to take off work to run Mayhem. I can't undo that. I can't go to my boss and say, hey, I know you scheduled me to be off. I'm sorry, they canceled my stupid video game event. I need to work those days. Can you tell the people that are supposed to be covering my shift that I made a boo-boo? I have invested tens of thousands of PED gearing up for Mayhem. I have bought new rings. I have arranged weapons. I have arranged amps. This money is not money I can just get back. Some of this was purchases, and I could turn around and sell these items. Some of it was things I had worked out with other players. I have a horrendous stack of pills that I have been buying up. I have hired traders who do nothing but sit on Cali Trade and buy and sell pills all day. I have standing orders. I was flying back to Cali tonight to meet up with a guy tomorrow to buy over 4,000 PED worth of pills in my gear up for Summer Mayhem. And now it is canceled with no explanation. So at this point, I have a message for Mindark. I put out videos all the time trying to help players, new and old alike. People who have never played before, who didn't even know this game existed, that found it on YouTube. People who are playing and are at a lower level and are trying to play smarter, not harder. People who have been playing for years and just decided that they would like to play the game a little bit differently. I received a message last night from somebody who's played for over 12 years that suddenly changed their playing style and has gone from more or less a sweater and swunter to actually becoming a hunter, because they now understand how amps and weapons and damage interval and extenders work, and that they need to be hunting for markup. So after 10 years in game, for the past 2 years, they have more or less changed their playing style and are now creating money for Mindark because of the fact that people like me are putting out this information. People like Sturge and Serial Overdrive are out here advertising the game that Mindark refuses to advertise. But let me explain something. A, this is just a horrible way to do business. You cannot just pull the rug out from under people like this, but for some reason, Mindark does it all the time. I made a joke with somebody the other day. I was joking. I said, it's funny, I know Summer Mayhem's going to get screwed up. Every event they do get screwed up. They couldn't calculate the Gold Rush results right. They never can seem to get Mayhem right. It always, the instance opens, then it closes, then it opens, then it closes. I had an Easter Mayhem a couple years ago where I was able to get in like a week in advance and start grinding out for a couple hours, and I finally told them, I was like, you guys do realize the instance is open after like 3 hours. I was like, is this supposed to be the practice instance, or is this the actual competition instance? And I got a hold of a live avatar, and they immediately shut it because they had it set wrong from the year prior. It is amazing to me that this video game works off one concept and one concept only. This is a real cash economy. Everything we do has real value. People invest tens of thousands of dollars in this game. Spend hundreds to thousands of dollars preparing for these events. Why? Is it so that I can get some Codex rewards? Sure, that's part of it. I can do that elsewhere outside of Mayhem. I have been participating in Mayhem for almost 4 years now. I will be 4 EU years old next weekend on Memorial Day 2022. I still have not redeemed my prize after winning the competition multiple times because of how bad the old setup was. I'm a huge fan of the new setup where it is a massive grind fest, because guess what? If you're willing to put in the hours, if you're willing to put in the money to sit there and grind endlessly, it's doable. Summer Mayhem was my big push for the reward that I've been wanting for 4 years. So I'm extra mad for that reason. After Summer Mayhem, I would have been able to pull any item I wanted out of the vendor. I was actually sitting here going, should I go for the one that I've been wanting for 4 years, or should I go for something else and change my mind at the last minute because I can get anything I want? I could claim a lot of prizes right now. In fact, if I was on Cali and I had found this information out just now when I did, I would have very likely just gone to the vendor and claimed whatever prize I first saw, and that would have been the end of my Mayhem career. That would have been it. I would have never ran another Mayhem after that. Because why would I? This should have been the push that allowed me to get my end item for the game. And I was trying to decide for the rest of my career, which weapon do I want to use? Do I want to go Mind Force for the rest of my career and go with the perfected ship? Do I want to go with something like the BP-130? Do I want to just get the highest damage per peck item I can? Do I want to get the highest efficiency item I can? Do I want to count that I can get a high damage per peck item, and at some point they're going to restock the vendor with Mayhem, BLP, and laser amps that are going to push the efficiency of something like the BP-130 through the roof into the 90+% zone? I was trying to figure out what my end game is because this was my big push. Again, I don't normally take off work for Mayhems. I've trained my dog to sit here and hit F whenever I'm at work for 8 hours. It's not perfect, but it helps. And now they just pulled the rug out from under us. So I'm supposed to sit on thousands and thousands and thousands of PED worth of gear and rings and armor and plates. I mean, how often do you really use impact plates other than Summer Mayhem? Other than on Molem? So those AP66 plates, man, that was a great investment at 230% markup. So obviously I am ticked beyond reason because, again, this is not a regular game. This game runs off a real cash economy, and it makes it very, very hard to justify this game with this kind of piss-poor management and piss-poor communication. I can't believe they announced it the way they did. This should have been something that was put out in multiple channels as an official announcement. It should have been on the home screen whenever you go to load the screen. Instead, what do we have? We've got some crap post about how they're working on Unreal 5. Why are they even working on Unreal 5? They cannot get their events to work correctly. There has not been a single Mayhem that was not bugged. Gold Rush, the scores were calculated completely backwards and foobarred. They screw up every single event they try and do. Every release is bugged. Why are they even bothering with a new platform like Unreal 5 whenever they can't get the basics right? If you can't communicate with the player base, why are you so focused on this dream of a new platform, of Unreal 5? It makes no sense. Here's the thing. What makes Mindark their money? Events like Mayhem. Events like Gold Rush. Events like Marsamex spawns. Events like Summer Migration. What is probably the biggest of these money makers? Mayhem. Do you have any idea how much decay is generated during Mayhem? Do you have any idea how much Mindark is just pulling in hand over fist? There are people who do not play outside of Mayhem. Now keep in mind, prior to last year, Summer Mayhem was canceled because they were retooling Mayhem. So then we had Halloween, Christmas, and Easter. So keep that in mind. So prior to the retooling, it was a competition. And the competition had categories, 10 categories. There was a DPS limit for your weapon. So you wanted a weapon that was right at the DPS limit that was ideally tier 9 or 10. And you would run for 20 hours, and you would get points for the kills that you got, and it was random. You could get 0 or you could get 5,000. You really needed a 5,000 point kill in order to get a top spot in Mayhem. And you couldn't guarantee you would get one every run. Even with a kill every 4 to 6 seconds, you weren't guaranteed to get one every run. It just wasn't one of those things that was guaranteed. So you wanted to make sure and run as efficiently and quickly as you could with as many kills as you could. And the problem was, because of the way they had it set up with the profession limits, you had to stay artificially low level. Guys, I did not really get to hunt. I did not really get to play Entropia prior to October of 2021. When they finally announced the way they retooled Mayhem and made it a grind fest, it was music to my ears, because there was multiple times that I would finish a Mayhem run, finish up my 20 hours, and that was it. The score was the score. I either won or I didn't. And then I had to do nothing but stand around and either do Zykion or sweat for 3 to 4 months until the next Mayhem, because I couldn't go hunt. Because if I hunted, it would have raised my profession levels too high. It would have put me in a different category that I wasn't geared up for, and then I would have had to chip out. That's why rifle and pistol and BLP and laser weapon skills were literally given away. In fact, I know one famous player who was actually paying people to take his rifle skills at one point because of the old Mayhem setup. He would say, you know, I've got 900 TT, you have to provide the ESI, but if you provide the ESI, whatever skills you take, I will give you that much PED. So yes, you had to go buy the ESI at, 800,000-900,000% markup, but if you took 100 PED worth of skills out of him, the skills were given to you for free, and then he would actually give you 100 PED. He was paying people to take those skills. That's why they were absolutely worthless. Now that they've retooled it, these skills actually have some amount of value again, because now the game is headed in the direction where all players are going to need to be high-level players. They want you to skill as fast as you can. That's why they created Codex. With Codex, there's almost arguably not really a reason for things like skilling at Zykion anymore, if you're not free-to-play. If you're free-to-play, different story. So, with the restoration ships, the limited ones, it's very obvious that they want you to be high-level. Some of those restoration ships heal for 500 to 750 HP per use. So they're expecting players to get lots and lots of attributes, lots and lots of skill points. They're expecting there to be more players with 500 plus HP. Otherwise, why would they have made the restoration ship like that? I've seen that coming for a while. And I know they've got a lot of big changes coming to space. I know they've got a lot of big changes coming to the game. And if they can get Unreal to work the way they want, that's great. I'm all about that. But you have to get the basics right. And we have been screaming this from the rooftop for years. If Mindark cannot get the basics right, why would you work on something else? Why would you even bother? And when I say the basics, I mean things like communication. Making sure all 4 Mayhems happen 4 times a year, like clockwork. Making sure that Mayhem isn't bugged. Making sure that Mayhem works properly and can't be cheated. I told them for over 2 years, I said, somebody is cheating. I am blasting away 3rd, 4th, 5th place in Mayhem by a massive margin. And I'm running at buff limit, category limit, DPS limit, profession limit. Maybe with some luck, there's a way to get a 5,000 pointer that I didn't. Or 2 5,000 pointers in the same run. But there's not a way to triple my score. Nope, nobody's cheating, nobody's cheating. You know what somebody actually put on the forum just now? Yogg Horror Pets approved this message. Because they were using Yogg Horror Pets, back when it was a competition, to bypass the buff system to reload faster than humanly possible. To reload faster than the system would allow under normal conditions with normal items and normal actions, from like pills and stuff. So, here's the thing. I do think, in part, I understand why they have canceled Summer Mayhem. And I kind of saw this part of it coming, but I didn't think they would be stupid enough to cancel the entire event. And I really didn't think they would be stupid enough to announce something like the cancellation of Mayhem without giving an explanation, randomly, not out loud for the world to see, but on something like PCF. So with Mayhem, with Easter and with Halloween, your secondary competition is survival mode. And you guys know from seeing my other videos, I do not agree with how they redid it. I like that they made it a mission, but they made it so hard. Once you get past stage 5, most players are never going to get anywhere near stage 20. Stage 6 and 7 usually isn't even worth attempting. And had they made it where you could run out the timer and just survive, that'd be one thing. But no, you actually have to kill all the creatures in that time. Well, that's what the category Annihilation's for. If I'm able to figure out a way to survive, I should get to progress to the next mission category in survival mode, right? So that being the case, that's not how they did it. But then whenever you have Christmas Mayhem, you have free-for-all. So you've got Annihilation, which is the regular category, and then free-for-all where you just go hunt and the stars drop, and whoever turns in the most stars gets the prize, and that's why the stars are traded back and forth and have value, and people will hunt for the stars in the boxes and sell the stars off. And it's usually a trader that ends up winning the top prize in free-for-all because they're sitting there actually paying PED to buy these. Hundreds of thousands of PED to buy this stuff. Oh, here's actually a link for the BP-130 I'm considering. 124 DPS, 65% efficiency. I mean, this is an amazing weapon. Yes, I wish the efficiency was higher, but like I said, this is a very, very high DPP, damage per peck item, very high DPS item. One of the highest DPSs in game, was arguably one of the top DPSs until they made the modified Nanoblade. And like the modified Nanoblade, how mad would you be if you just spent all that money on a modified Nanoblade and your plan was to go farm bang loads of boxes in Mayhem because now you have one of the highest DPS weapons in game, and now Mayhem is canceled? I mean, this is just bad all around. Not just from the canceling standpoint, not just because I had a ton of money invested, and so did a lot of the other players who really grind these events out. Not just because this was the one where I should have been able to say, what am I going to do in-game for the next 15 years? Which item do I really want to have that's going to last me the rest of my career in-game or close to it? But for the fact of the way they announced it, the fact that they have not given us a reason, and it's just kind of an obscure post on PCF. They didn't even make their own thread. Somebody else made a thread, and they were like, oh, by the way, we're not doing Summer Mayhem. That's all I can really say about it. So I think part of the reason is, for Summer Mayhem, the secondary competition was a unique competition having to do with Mind Force and Melee. You would go into the instance, and you had to do it as quickly as possible. Whoever did it the fastest won. And this was the only secondary competition that was like that. Most of the others were like survival or just free-for-all. So you would go into the instance, you would kill some creatures, another creature would spawn, you would kill it, and there was a special Mulum in the middle of the arena that once you did all that, it would debuff the Mulum. And then you could attack the Mulum with certain weapons, either Melee or Mind Force, I forget which it is, for a certain amount of time, let's say 30 seconds, and you could do damage to it. Then the buff would reactivate, you could not hurt it anymore, and then you had to go repeat the process. And who could ever do this fastest and kill the Mulum fastest won. So I thought from the get, that's going to be a really, really hard secondary competition to turn into a mission. I don't see how you would do that. However, they could have just done away with the secondary competition altogether. There doesn't have to be a secondary competition. You could close that instance off and just go with Annihilation, since that's what the vast majority of players deal with anyway. I would say probably 96 to 98% of people who grind out Mayhem, who are investing in Mayhem, that's what they're going for. If we can grab some extra tokens off the secondary event, sure, everybody's happy about that, but Annihilation is the main part of Mayhem. It always has been. It probably always will be. So I cannot believe they did this. I cannot believe they did it without giving a reason. I cannot believe they announced it in this way. It is just horrible overall for Mindark. So back to my point of why are we even screwing with Unreal 5? Go to your load screen, and where you see the part about Unreal 5 and how you can read the developer's blog, click on that. Pull it up. Let the website load. They are so bad at developing things that on the website where they wrote about all the things that they're hoping Unreal 5 will do and how they're going to be adding a new moon to Calypso where they can test out Unreal 5 and make it their Unreal 5 playground to be sure they've got everything right before migrating the entire game and yurda. They literally put the font in a color that almost matches the background. So in order to even read what they wrote, you have to more or less highlight the font with your mouse in order to even read the post. This is basic web design 101. This is basic HTML and CSS. And if you can't do that and get that correct, How are you going to program Unreal 5 to work if you can't announce something like the cancellation of Mayhem in some manner other than through just a random PCF post that somebody else started the thread? How are you going to get Unreal 5 to work? How are you going to retain clients? You know, I love this game. I want to see this game be around for another 40 years. Mindark has done so many things in the right directions. I do not understand why they will not get their heads out of their butts when it comes to making the events work properly, when it comes to focusing on the things the players care about. I've got news for you. I don't give a crap about Unreal 5. I am scared to death that they're going to focus so much on Unreal 5, they're going to run off so many players, they're going to end up killing their own game. About the time when this game gets to where it should be, with changes to space, with the planet partners getting all kinds of things going right like they should, with everybody else figuring it out, I am seriously afraid they're going to do what everybody else does and focus so much on Unreal 5, they're going to destroy what they've tried to build over the last 20 years. I'm not looking forward to the 20-year anniversary event. I am horrified of what lays ahead because the personnel at Mindark cannot get with the program. So I'm going to tell you guys a story. And this is a story I don't tell very often. I will not tell it again. This is a one-time thing. And I hope that it is a lesson for Mindark. I hope it is also a lesson for all the players out there. So I'm going to tell you guys about what happened to me 20 years ago in a different life. Growing up, I had two grandfathers. I had a grandfather who was a home builder, very successful one. We developed neighborhoods. And I had another grandfather who worked mainly in parts departments at car dealerships. He was a huge car guy. He loved to build street rods. And both of them were my heroes. I love these two men to death. My grandfather, who could build street rods, was an encyclopedia on car history. In fact, shortly before he passed away, I literally just quizzed him on car trivia. And I was like, man, this is going to be horrible because I don't have time to record everything he knows. I don't have time to put it down for history and preserve it. And there's going to be so much knowledge that's just going to be lost. And sure enough, that's what happened. So on weekends, I would go spend time with my grandfathers. And I always had a hobby. And you guys will see why 4 years ago I started EU through listening to this story. I always had a hobby. So like Pokemon cards was a big hobby of mine, not because I love Pokemon, but I figured out it made money. A friend of mine told me about Pokemon. I thought it was stupid. Then I saw a kid giving money for a card. I said, explain the value part to me. And cough, cough, I'm at the nurse's station. Dad, I need you to come get me. I need to go to a card store and buy up a whole bunch of cards about little creatures that you catch in balls. I'll explain later. And that's how Pokemon got started. With me, anyway. And I made good money doing it. Well, my grandfather, that was a car guy, guess what he collected? Hot Wheels. So whenever I would spend the night at his house on Friday and Saturday nights, we would pull out his Hot Wheel collection, probably one of the biggest collections in the state at the time. He had so many rare things you would never see again. And we would spend hours just looking at the cars, and he would tell me the history of it, and what cars it was based off on real life, and who designed it, and times that he owned a car similar to that. It was a great time. And at the time, back in 1998, the Beanie Baby fad had died down. That wasn't something I was ever into. That was before my time. And Hot Wheels became a massive, massive fad. Now, they have no intrinsic value. It's not like coins, where coins are made out of gold and silver and actually have, you know, intrinsic value. They're just hobby pieces, collectible pieces, art pieces, history pieces. Hot Wheels are strictly nostalgia, strictly just because I like this thing looks shiny, I want this thing. That's why Hot Wheels had value. And Mattel took advantage of this in a big way. They started the Treasure Hunt line in 1995, where they would make 12 cars that looked super cool each year, and they would limit the production to only 10,000 of each, and it would say Treasure Hunt on it. And if you were super, super lucky, you would go into Walmart and you might get there and find one right as they put out the cases of Hot Wheels for the week. I found one in all my time collecting Hot Wheels. I found one in an actual Walmart, and it was a Walmart in Cancun, Mexico, of all places. It was the 1934 split window, the orange one with the yellow flames. I think it was 1999. It might have been the 98 set. Forget when I was in Cancun. It was before they shut down the pyramid, when you could still climb the pyramid at Chichen Itza. That thing was creepy. That's a story for a different day. Anyway, Hot Wheels became such a big fad that Walmart actually started punching holes in the cards of the Hot Wheels to deliberately take sales down, because 45-year-old men were getting in fist fights with children that were 12 and 13 years old when they would put the Hot Wheels out. They were having to hire private security. They almost got to the point where they would not carry Hot Wheels. Well, like most things, the fad started coming to an end. I saw the writing on the wall, so we got out. I sold the majority of my collection. My grandfather cashed out the majority of his collection. And I asked him one time, I said, so what else do you collect? Like, what else are you into? Because that was kind of our thing. And he said, well, I collect coins. I didn't know that. And I kind of rolled my eyes, and I said, Grandpa, I'm already a 4.0 GPA student. I'm already a nerd. I already wear glasses. I don't need to be a bigger nerd. But that's how I got into coin collecting. And I would buy a coin and sell a coin. Buy a coin and sell a coin. I'd literally go to one coin shop and negotiate a discount, buy it, and a few weeks later go to another coin shop across town and negotiate the sell for a higher price, make a spread, and then repeat. I'd actually turn around and buy something off them, usually as part of the negotiation, and then turn around and take it back to the place that I bought the previous one from, and repeat the process in reverse, and then back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I started selling stuff on eBay. Now, that's a long story in and of itself, but here's the point of the story. It worked really well until eBay didn't want to be eBay. eBay wanted to be Amazon. eBay was not happy being the garage sale site. Now, here's the thing. eBay is the largest platform in the world for coin collectors and bullion dealers and numismatists. If you want to collect coins, eBay is going to be your primary source for buying and selling, because it is the largest coin market on the planet. It is also one of the largest places to find gear for old cars. Somebody bought a car the other day and they said, man, I don't know where I'm going to get a part for this. They haven't made it in 10 years. I said, eBay. You want a brand new owner's manual? Brand new, factory original, new old stock owner's manual for a 1973 Corvette? Guess where you're going to find that? eBay. If you want a trim piece for a 1963 split window, guess where you're going to find that? eBay. If you want the little door handle for your 2001 Beamer that seems to broke off on the inside, guess where you're going to find that? eBay. But eBay wasn't happy being eBay. They were not happy being the best garage sale site on the planet and making money hand over fist. They wanted to be Amazon. So they started giving discounts to people who were selling new products for below wholesale. So instead of cleaning out your garage, if you somehow were able to get your hands on a crate of brand new digital cameras and sell them for cheaper than you could buy them at Best Buy, eBay wanted that. That's what they wanted. They would give your ads premium placement. They would give you discounts on your advertising. Man, they were all about it because they wanted to somehow compete with Amazon. Well, there's two problems with that. Number one, that wasn't how they were making money. So by doing this, I went from spending $5,000 to $10,000 a month on advertising fees on eBay and PayPal to literally not using the website at all and giving up being a coin dealer. Not just me. I had a friend who sold McDonald's toys from Happy Meals because there was a huge collectible market for that. He was spending anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a month in ad fees for eBay and PayPal. He quit because it didn't do him any good. It wasn't a brand new camera. It wasn't a brand new iPad, so he wasn't getting the exposure he needed to make sales. I had a high school teacher who would spend $1,000 to $2,000 a month on ad fees for eBay and PayPal because he would go around to garage sales and he would find all kinds of stuff, mainly video games. His specialty was finding like old school Nintendos and Super Nintendos and PlayStations, but he would also find rare jewelry and collectible cards, stuff like that. And he quit selling. So between just the three of us, they were losing roughly $10,000 to $15,000 worth of revenue every single month just because they decided they didn't want to be the garage sale place. They wanted to be Amazon when Amazon already existed. Then you had the additional problem of the vast majority of stuff that started being sold on eBay was stolen. Because how else are you going to compete with Best Buy? How else are you going to compete with the guys that have these massive deals with distributors in China that are selling on Amazon? How are you going to compete with them other than to go steal it off the back of a truck and then sell it for even cheaper? So what did eBay have to do? It started having to use a buyer protection program where the buyer was always right. The buyer wasn't who was paying them. The seller was. But if the buyer complained about anything, the buyer got their money back and usually got to keep the product. In fact, one of the oldest scams on eBay, still going on, it's been going on since 2005 or earlier, is I can order any item I want. I can order a brand new iPhone. And whenever I get it, I can say that I didn't get it or what I got was significantly not as described. I can send you back a box of dirt that weighs the exact same amount. And as long as I put a delivery confirmation on it, eBay will let me keep the item I purchased and they will give me my money back. And the seller is out a brand new iPhone and the money for it. So they get double dipped. And this is why people have largely retired from doing eBay. If you notice, eBay used to be an auction site. It's now a buy it now site. Go on eBay for any category and look at how many auctions there are versus how many buy it now items there are. And overwhelmingly, there are vastly more buy it now items. That didn't used to be the case. Used to, it was auction items because it was the auction website. That's just what their place in the world was. But they weren't happy with their place in the world. They weren't happy with making money hand over fist. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to be Amazon. Well, how'd that work for them? Back when I sold stuff on eBay, you didn't get free listings. Now you can get like over 100 free listings a month. So it costs you nothing to actually put your item up for sale. They didn't have to do that. They could charge us for each and every ad that we ran. And we were more than happy to pay a huge amount of money to get premium placement, to get services that would make our ads stand out, like bold lettering and highlighting and featured placement at the top of search results. Now, they'll offer you 100 free ads just to list crap. They'll give you discounts on your final value fees if the item is new in box and in electronic. They have utterly destroyed their golden goose. So I say that as a word of warning to Mindark. You have a golden goose. This is a great game. It is a unique game. You are in a time in the world where everybody's into cryptocurrency and the metaverse. And you've been doing it for almost 20 years now. It'll be 20 years next year. And all you have to do is get a few basics right. Like communicating with your player base. Making sure that your events go off without a hitch. Making sure that the game is worth investing in. Making sure that when we do a long-term investment, what is it you always said whenever you put out the Mayhem announcement? Items in the Mayhem token trader are tradable, but Mayhem tokens are not. This will allow players to compete in multiple Mayhems to save up for larger, more costly items. Okay, well, how can we do that if you cancel Mayhem? How can we do that if a week beforehand, after investing all this money in pills, after investing all this money in gear, after taking hours and hours and hours to negotiate with people in order to try and secure trades so that you can have the best gear possible, after putting in for freaking time off work, you pull the rug out from under us? How am I supposed to get those Mayhem tokens now? Are they going to drop from the mobs in summer migration? That would be a horrible decision. I can see them doing that, but it would be a horrible decision. I'm already thinking of ways I can go out if they do that and go, how can I farm the fastest for the most eco amount of money possible? Is it going to be, how would you set that up? You can't do it like Mayhem. You can't do it where the higher the category, the higher the damage level of the mob, the more likely it is to drop a Mayhem token. So what, I'm just going to go hunt level 4 Exosaurs? Or, I'm sorry, level 4 Longtooth. Longtooth is like a big Exosaur. So, if I'm going out for level 4 Exosaurs, or Longtooth, and they're dropping Mayhem tokens, guess what? I am so golden. So golden. That would be incredibly, incredibly stupid. How many people have recently started doing Mayhem with the new format that now have a rare token and 10,000 regular tokens that are just starting their Mayhem career that are now saying, screw this? How many more customers are we going to lose? For every 500 free-to-play players, we get one player that is a low depot player. For every 500 of those, we get one whale. Do you know how many videos I have to put out in order to make those kind of numbers happen to help bring new players into your game, to help you get exposure to the game? Because you're not doing what you did for 10 years. For 10 years, you would create content like FOMA, the Old Club Never Die. You would create content like Crystal Palace. Stuff that actually had utility in-game that players would invest their life savings in because it made sense because there were reasons people would want to come hunt there. There were reasons people would want to come farm there. And there were reasons those places would generate revenue for the person who owned it. And then you would sell this to a player, and it would be a world record. And hundreds of thousands of people would find out about your game. You think I found out about this game 4 years ago? No. You know when I found out about this game? When Never Die bought Club Never Die, what is now FOMA. And it made world record headlines. I originally tried to download this game in 2009. I just couldn't get it to download correctly, so I gave up. I tried again in 2013. I never played a PC game before. I couldn't make it through the tutorial. I couldn't get the hang of the keyboard. And then finally, 4 years ago, Memorial Day, I downloaded it and took it to the lake and just fumbled my way through it because I needed a hobby. I hadn't had a hobby, quote unquote, in, I don't know, 10 plus years. And I was losing my mind. I was about to have a heart attack from stress, from my career, from work. I was making great money. It wasn't necessarily about money. I needed a hobby that could compensate me something. It wasn't going to bring in $10,000 a month. It was never supposed to. I just needed a hobby that could somehow give me some kind of compensation for the amount of time I would put into it. Now, in a way, this is good for me. This gives me an extra 5 months to skill before Halloween Mayhem. So quickness will definitely be unlocked, I guess. But that's not the point. I love this game. I want to see this game thrive. And the biggest problem this game has had, ever since I started playing, isn't that we haven't had Unreal 5. It's not that we need better graphics updates that we'll get with Unreal 5 or new ways to interact with the environment. What we need is the events that are done to work properly, which has never happened. They're always screwed up. We need the people who work at Mindark to realize that you don't drop bombs like that on people a week and a half before. To realize that this game does run off of a real cash economy and people are spending real money to prepare for these events. I just depoted $400 the other day. I sat around opening boxes going, I'll see what pills I get out of them because maybe it reduces the number of pills I actually need to buy off the open market getting ready for Mayhem. I had another deposit I was getting ready to make next week for the exact same reason. I was like, I can actually do this 2, maybe 3 times before Mayhem starts. Do you really think I would have rewarded them with a deposit with them doing crap like that? Absolutely not. So I do not know what to tell you guys. I'm sure at some point we will find out more information about why this happened. Maybe. Or they could just say, yeah, we'll see you at Halloween for Halloween Mayhem. Also, that means no codex progress for summer creatures, for codex for summer Mayhem creatures. None of that. Was looking forward to that. That would have helped out with the skilling part. So maybe we get an answer, maybe we don't. But Unreal 5 is a pipe dream at this point. It is going to do you no good to work on Unreal 5 with new graphics and new ways to interact with the environment. And we envision a planet where players can hire other players in a contract basis to do things. Okay, if you can't get the events right, why would I believe you could get any of that right? If you can't get announcing when you're doing something or canceling something right, why would I believe you can't get that right? If you go to make a developer blog that we can check in on to see how Unreal 5 is coming and the font color matches the background, why would I have any faith in your ability to program Unreal 5? You can't even calculate the scores for Gold Rush correctly. Took 2 attempts at that. So I really don't know what to tell Mindark other than, bro, get it together. You guys have come so far in the past year and a half with some of the things that you've done in-game. Retooling Mayhem, some of the changes that have been made to the game. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Some of the things you're doing with Planet Partners, absolutely fantastic. But you have got to get it together 100%. Got to. There's no other option. The other option is failure and death. And I do not want to see this game die. I love this game. I do not know what I would do without it. I do. I would just find something else. And I'm afraid that there's a lot of people that are going to do that. You guys are now part of the metaverse. The metaverse is now the new buzzword. Guess what? There are going to be people trying to replicate what you already have. And if you give them an opportunity, they're going to replicate exactly what you have while you're working on Mr. Unreal 5 over there. And they're going to surpass you in every way. I will not be the last avatar in this game. I will not log in to a game where I have all of the Entropia universe to myself. That will not happen. So I am begging you, on my hands and knees, begging, from the bottom of my heart, like a homeless person, like somebody who is absolutely desperate, please, 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 put the knife down that you have at your own throat. Please, put the gun down. Walk away from the ledge. Please, I am begging you. You are loved. We care about you. We love you. We don't want anything to happen to you. Please, just come down from the ledge and come back inside. Take care of what you have already built. Value your customers, because if you don't, you won't have any left. Value what you have and make sure that it goes off without a hitch. Every event, every score calculation, every time. Because until you can do that, I should not hear a single word about Unreal 5. Not a single word about Unreal 5. Until every event is done correctly, until every communication is done correctly, until every score is calculated correctly, why are you even bothering to work on Unreal 5? Because here's the thing. If, by some miracle, Unreal 5 allowed them to release this game to the masses via consoles and apps and stuff like that, and they run it the way they run it now, Mindark would be sued into bankruptcy in a week. In a single week. They can argue against it all they want. That is just a fact. We go from 10,000 daily active players to 150 million, which is what we all want to see. And this kind of stuff happens where people invest a ton of money into stuff gearing up for an event, and then you just cancel it for no apparent reason with no explanation and not even an announcement, just something on PCF. I guarantee you it will be the end of the universe. So, Mindark, I have begged you before. I am begging you again, on my hands and knees, begging with everything that is in me. Come away from the ledge. You're loved. You're cared about. All you have to do is show us the smallest bit of concern, that you value us in the smallest way, and we will stay here. But if you don't, if you jump, we can't do anything about it. And there's no coming back from it. So guys, for EarnPed.com, I've been StevieB. I'm not even going to ask you to support us today by going to EarnPed or subscribing to the channel or hitting a like. What I'm going to ask is simply this. File a support case and tell them, very simply, very politely, if you cannot do the events correctly, if you cannot score the events correctly, if you cannot communicate correctly and act like we are valued customers, then we don't want you working on Unreal 5. I am asking every Stevie that is out there right now, stop what you're doing and send a support case in telling them they should not be working on anything with Unreal 5. They should not even be considering Unreal 5 until they can prove that they can communicate effectively in a timely manner, that they can value their customers, and that the events go off without a hitch every time, unbugged, without the buff systems being bypassed, without having to shut down the instance and restart it 2 days later, until they can get the scores scored correctly every time the first time around. We do not want Unreal 5. Now, I understand there might be people that disagree with me here, but here's my point. If they work on Unreal 5 and keep doing stuff like this, there's not going to be a game left by the time they get to Unreal 5. Unreal 5 will get finished and the universe will be empty. Now, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. And like I said, I hear the doom and gloom group all the time. I'm usually not a part of that group. But run it as if it is what it is. It is a company. A company that owns a video game that has customers. Paying customers. So guys, if you agree with me, I just ask that you would send in a support case, just letting them know your feelings on the fact that if they can't get it right now, why would they dare work on Unreal 5? If they can't get this kind of stuff right now, how big of a mess is it going to be once they do release Unreal 5? So guys, I'm going to leave it there for today. I'm sure we'll have plenty of comments. I'm sure we'll have more information in the days to come, but I wanted to get this out there for you as fast as possible. Sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Please, Mindark, just coming off the ledge. Please. I'm just going to leave it there. See you guys.